Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to Just Law on IQRA TV. Just before the break, we were looking at immigration applications, in particular spouse applications, how somebody in the United Kingdom can sponsor their husband or wife to come to the United Kingdom. And in particular, what we were looking at was the financial requirement. This 18,600 requirement that you hear being mentioned regularly by those who are wishing to sponsor their husbands or wives to come over from abroad. So in relation to this 18,600 requirement, we were looking at what is it that you need to submit, and we looked at how there are three key documents: your wage slips, your bank statements and your employment letter. Three key documents we need to submit, and for each of them I'm just wanting to go through sort of the key tips you need to bear in mind, and we'd reach the stage of looking at bank statements. And what I had said, first of all, first key matter to bear in mind is that the bank statements that you submit must be for the same period as the wage slips. For somebody applying in October, relying on wage slips from April, May, June, July, August, September, you need bank statements which cover the same period. Now, secondly, try and make sure that the documents that the bank statements are original documents. But Home Office is less strict about it. Home Office rules, Home Office guidance still says you must submit originals. However, the reason things have changed is that these documents are currently being not sent in the post as hard copies anymore. They are being scanned and uploaded. So the Home Office seems to be less strict about whether the document is an original or a copy. However, in my experience, make sure that whatever you submit looks official. My concern sometimes is with internet bank statements. If you're going to print internet bank statements off, just use them if they look official, they've got the bank logo, etc. Otherwise, better to order bank statements to cover the right period and not take a risk. The problem is if the Home Office is not happy with the documents that you submit, worst case scenario, the application will get refused, or the application may well get delayed. And those are both matters you want to try and avoid. So second tip, firstly, make sure documents cover the right period, your bank statements cover the right period, I should say. Secondly, try and make sure that you submit proper looking bank statements. Thirdly, what else goes wrong? Again, this is something I mentioned before. You need to make sure that the money that's going into your bank account, your net pay, matches your wage slips. Look at the entry, make sure in terms of where the money's coming from, it says your employer's name, or it doesn't look like it's coming from elsewhere. It does look like it is coming from your employer. So those are the three tips as far as your bank statements are concerned. Final aspect of the financial requirement, we've looked at wage slips, bank statements. Final aspect is the employment letter. Sounds simple, but even with an employment letter, there are certain things you need to bear in mind. First of all, the employment letter must contain certain pieces of information. It needs to confirm you are employed. It needs to confirm what your job title is. Needs to confirm what your salary is, needs to confirm from when you have been paid that salary, and needs to confirm the nature of your employment, whether it's permanent, whether it's temporary, fixed term, etc. So 5 things: that you're employed, what your job title is, how much you get paid, since when have you been paid, paid that amount, and also needs to confirm the nature of your employment. So that's the first key thing. Secondly, the date of the letter you need to make sure it's a recent letter. It's no more than 28 days old. So you're applying in October, have a employment letter which is dated towards the end of September, not something which is more old than that. Thirdly, try and get the employment letter from somebody who is senior within the organization and with their contact details, etc. Their, proper telephone number on which the person can be contacted, proper email address from which can be used to contact them. And also, if you work unusual hours, mention that in the employment letter. So if they call you, Home Office calls you trying to get hold of you and you're not there, you've already dealt with that in the employment letter. Some people might work night shifts, some people might work on weekends, so they won't be there. If the Home Office decides, a caseworker decides to call you Monday afternoon or something, try and address that in the employment letter. So those are the three tips as far as the employment letter is concerned. So today, what I've tried to do is deal with the most important aspect of spouse applications when you're sponsoring your husband or wife to come to the United Kingdom, and how you meet the 18,600 requirement in terms of wages, bank statements and your employment letter. That brings us to the end of today's show. Inshallah, should be back next week on Monday at 6 o'clock. Until then, Assalamu alaikum.